In this video, we'll be going over, we'll be doing a Windows Forms app in C#. So we have a form here, so I tried to do this before, but I had no space on my computer because I have to upload over 300 tutorials. Most of them are like at least half an hour long. Some of them go to like an hour or more. Some of them go to like 3 hours. So I'll try to upload those soon. So we have here, so there's supposed to be like an airplane chart. It's just a picture of like a seating chart of an airplane. I'm just gonna skip that part. So it's a 2D, this is a 2D array implementation. So we have a text box here. Where'd the text box go? Oh, the text box is here. Okay, so this is called row text box. And so it's a text box, and then so I've set a few properties, the size, auto size, maybe if there's auto size. Actually, I don't think I set auto size for the text box. And then you can change the colors if you want. You can add if there's a border style. I don't think I added a border style to those. I just added a border style to the labels. So there's two text boxes here. So row text box is identifier name, and this is call text box. And this label is we don't need to access this label, so I just left the identifiers out. And then we have another label here. So this one's price label, and then this label doesn't have an identifier. And this button is display price button, so it's just a button. And there's an exit button, but I skipped the exit button. Actually, we could maybe just, okay, let's maybe just do the exit button. So I'm just going to click the toolbox here on the right. Just to do it quickly, we'll do the layout later on. So we have, instead of that, let me just copy this one, paste it here. So Control-C and Control-V. And I'm just going to change the text property for this button to exit. What does that say? Yeah, so I'm just going to change the text property here to exit. Excuse me, so then we'll change the identifier here to exit button. And that should be all, so we'll do the code now. So we're going to need to access the exit button. We'll have to access the exit button in the event handler. So here we'll have, what's this, Form1.load. Actually, I think I accidentally clicked that, so we'll just delete this. Okay, so here we'll just, so in the constructor we'll say, what do we call it? I think we called it display button. One sec here. Sorry. So let's just check what we have, what we call that button. So we have here, I think it's called display button. We'll just change that to just display button. That's fine. Actually, yeah, we'll just keep it like that, display price button. So here we'll say display price button plus equals, actually sorry, display price button dot click, because you want to access the click event of the button. So the different events that you want to access, for example, if this was something else, like a text box or label or something, you could just hit the dot operator in Rider or Visual Studio, and then you can just, I don't think you can see this on my screen, but another window is going to pop up with a bunch of, I think they call it IntelliSense. It'll give you every common option. So there could be a lot of different type of events. It'll give you methods and perhaps properties as well and other stuff. So display price button dot, we'll say click plus equals new event handler, and pass here display price button as a parameter, display price button underscore click. Okay, so then under that, actually we can just do the exit button as well. So we'll just have your exit button dot click plus equals new event handler. We'll pass in exit button underscore click. So under that we'll have the event handler, so private void display price button takes parameter object sender and event args. We'll just do the exit button as well. The private void exit button. Actually, so this should have display price button underscore click. And this one is private void exit button underscore click. Then we'll say pass in object sender and event args. Okay, so let's just see what else we have to do here. Okay, so we'll just start doing the event handler for the display price button, which is going to be from the button click. So we'll have two local variables here, int row and call, so two int variables. Then we'll have two constants, constant int max underscore row points to 5, and constant int max underscore call points to 3. So here we'll use an initialization list to initialize a 2D array of price. So this is going to be the prices of the airplane seating. So here we'll say decimal array, passing in comma as a parameter. We'll call it prices. We'll point it to an initialization list. So this is going to be the first row. So this will, remember the decimal values have to have an M on the end, and we'll hit a comma. So we'll just do a bunch of different prices. Okay, so that's fun here. So we'll just go with 450 M. So the first row in an airplane is going to be, I think, like first class or something. So for 450 M all the way across. So then at the end we'll have a comma and then bring that down. So Rider kind of formats it like this, so we'll just go with that. So here we'll pass in 425 M all the way across for the columns. Then we'll have another row here, and then we'll pass in 400 M. And for the next row, we'll pass in 375 M. Then for the second last row, we'll pass in 375 M as well. And for the last row, we'll pass in 370 M. Whoops, sorry. Okay, so that should be the end of the 2D array initialization list. So then here we'll just have. So that's it. So we'll just don't forget the semicolon at the end, outside the curly bracket. Okay, now we'll start a bunch of nested ifs. This is going to get the selected row number. So here we'll have. So still in the event handler underneath that initialization list. We'll say if int.tryParse we'll pass in row text box dot text. We'll talk about this in a sec. So if int.tryParse passing in row text box dot text comma out row. Remember tryParse return. You have to use the out keyword. So if that's true, so what's going to happen is going to try to pass the string row text box dot text as an int, and if it's true, the value should be stored in row. If it's false, -1 gets stored in row. But this is a Boolean method, so it's tricky, so it only returns true or false. So it also adds the value to row, either -1 or whatever value. So it's going to be a value other than -1, or -1 if this condition was false. So in the next nested if here we'll have if int.tryParse again. This time we'll pass in the y parameter, so call textbox.text. Then we'll say out call, same thing. So then here we'll have another nest. So here we'll say if. So if this is true, then it'll continue to the next nested if. If it's false, it breaks out of the if to the else, which we'll do in a sec. So here we have if, so the third nested if will be if row is greater than or equal to 0 and row is less than or equal to max underscore row. And we'll do the same thing for the calls. So here we'll say if, we'll say if call is greater than or equal to 0 and call is less than or equal to max row. Then we'll display the selected seats price. So here we'll say price label dot text points to prices of array index row comma call dot toString. So we'll have to cast this to a string and then pass in the currency string format. The string format string, the formatting string C. And we'll have to do all the else blocks as well. So we'll do the inner one first. So here we'll say, so if the inner else is false, then we'll display a message box. Whoops. So here we'll say else. We'll display a message box. So we'll say message box.show. A dialog box, and we'll just display a string to the user. So we'll say column must be 0 through, and then we'll close the string and then concatenate the variable max call. Then we'll close that else. And we'll have the next nested else. So I think that should be here. So you have this else, and then we'll go to this bracket here. So we close here and then go to this below the next one. So here we'll say else. We'll display a message box as well, message box.show. Enter, so we'll have a string here. Enter an integer for the column. So underneath that else, then we'll have another else here. How many do we have? Actually, sorry, I think that should be, let's just check that. Yeah, I think there's 4 of them. So let's just go back to the first one. Just to check it. I probably should have done them. I guess that's kind of confusing. So sometimes it could be better to do them out to in, but maybe in is better. So here we have, so we'll just go check the first one. So we have message box. So this else is going to, the first else here is going to be message box dot show a string. So the string call must be 0 through and then plus max call. Then under that if, the next, the outer nested if, then we'll have here. For the second one, message box dot show row must be 0 through, row must be 0. Sorry, I think I think this is wrong here. Let me just delete this. So we'll say message box dot show, and then we'll say, instead of call, actually, you know what? I think this one. Let's just actually no, that was right. So this one's right. So column here, column must be 0 through, and then for the second one, its row must be 0 through for this one. So the string row must be 0 through. Plus, and then concatenated to max underscore row. Okay, so we're just going to go below that if, move this if up. The bottom of that if up. Then we'll go below there. We'll say else. So else message box dot show. We'll say enter an integer for the column. Just a string there, no concatenation. And then finally for the last one, we'll go underneath that if there and say else, and then we'll show another dialog box. We'll say message box dot show. So here we'll enter a string, enter an integer for the row. Okay, so that should be all, and then after that, we'll just do the closing of the exit button. So here in the exit button, we'll just say this.close, so that'll just close the form. Or the window. Oh, that should be it actually. So I'm just, actually there might be something wrong with this, so let me just check. Also in the back end, so I have to check it. So expression, so 42. Line for, so I think this should, so let me just go back up to that. I think it should say call there as well. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4 ifs down. So the final nested if. So it should say if call is greater than or equal to 0 and then call is less than or equal to max row. Sorry, max. Yeah, that's is that right? No, that's wrong. So we have if row is greater than or equal to 0 and row is less than or equal to max row, and then this one is call. Actually, I think that is right. Max row. Okay, this one should be max call. This one here. So let me just check that. So if row is greater than or equal to 0 and row is less than or equal to max row, then if that's true, then open another nested if. Then we'll have if call is greater than or equal to 0 and call is less than or equal to max call. Let's just see what else. I think that's it. There might be something. I'm just going to run it just to check. There might be something wrong in the back end because I accidentally clicked the form event handler. So let me just try. You won't be able to see, but I'll just see if it works. So let me just run just to make sure that the code works at least. Okay, sorry. So there was something wrong with this. So let's just check the back end code. So I forgot how to do this. Okay, so I'm just going to click form. It's one of these, isn't it? It's not this one. No. How did I get to that one before? Windows Form. Form1.cs. Open that. There we go. I think it's this file. No, not that file. Designer. So it's the designer for this file. Okay, so it's the designer file. So I'm gonna have to. We don't really need this file because I think this is for the design. Yeah, so it's for the designer. So if you've seen some of the tutorials lately, I've been making the objects, but just sometimes it takes too long. So I've been making all. So you've been. Basically here you can say system.windows.forms if you want, or you don't have to, I noticed. So you could just actually just say, for example, this. So you don't even need the this keyword, but this. So you can use the this keyword, I guess. But you can say this.label, for example, points to new label. That's how I was doing it before. Maybe this file needs a little bit different. You might have to add the this keyword. This is a designer file though, so I think you can just kind of also code in here if you want as well. So we can, I think you can. So you can always just try it out and see if it works. So we're just looking for a red line here. Somewhere there should be a red line. We're just going to delete the red line. I think it's this one. Okay, so that should be it. So let me just try to run it again. So I'm just going to save it and then run it. So what are we supposed to enter here? Enter, okay, so you're supposed to enter a row and enter a column, and it'll tell you what the row or column is. Okay, so what happened with where did it go? I'm not seeing the form pop up. Maybe I didn't. Did I delete the wrong thing? Let's just check. It should work. It just should pop up. What exit code is that? Okay, so let me just check if there's any other red underlines here. Sometimes that happens when you use a designer. It just messes something up if you click the wrong button or something. see, make that a bit smaller. I might have to check that exit code. Why is that such a massive exit code? Okay, let me just check what it is. I'll have to. Okay, let me just see. Exit code -1073741819. Exit code rider. Okay, I might actually have to ask this to ChatGPT because I'm not getting any good answer. I think it's just something to do with the IDE. Actually, maybe instead of, let me just ask first and just see what it is. If not, well, I'll just double check that the code's right, and then it'll be something to do with the design window, not the actual code. So let me just see, okay, what exit code was that? Okay, so C# .NET rider exit code 01073741819. App doesn't run. Okay, so let's just check the code. I'm just gonna check the code one more time here, like the actual code. Okay, so we have. Let me try sender with a capital S. Not gonna change that. No, that didn't change anything. I think it said something. Oh, whoops, sorry, no, sender, no, didn't mean to do that. I meant to change the object parameter to capital instead. Where's the other one? Okay, it's down here. Object. What does that say? No, okay. I think it's just something. Let me just check the code just to make sure then. So we have at the top, so we have namespace, public partial class, and then we have the constructor public Form1. So let's just check the identifier names if they're okay. So we have display price button. Then we have exit button. Okay, so let's just go back. So what's the warning here? On 17. Redundant. I might have clicked something and I think it messed something up in the design window. But that's okay, so let's just see what else. We have display button dot click plus equals new event handler passing in display price button underscore click. See how there's an underline here and not an underline here? For the warning. Let's change that back to lowercase here. Whoops. Okay. So private void display price button underscore click, we're passing in object sender, comma event RXE, we have intro call, constant in max row points to 5, constant in max call points to 3. Is there an error in this? Maybe there's an error in this actual example. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. How many rows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. Let's just change this to. If that changes anything. So we'll change the values to 6 and 4. Try that. No, we'll just change those back. So here we have decimal array prices points to initialization list. So we have the values here. All have m's and commas and then a comma on the end. Then we just close it and with a semicolon. Then here we have if dot int, so if int dot try parse passing in row text box dot text. So let's just check that we have row text box dot text and call text box dot text. Where's the okay, so we have row text box dot text, just row text box, call text box, and we have our label 1 and 2, which we don't need to access. So if int dot try parse passing in row text box dot text comma out row, and here we have int dot try parse passing in call text box dot text comma out call. So out row and then out call, row text box, call text box. We're nesting them. And the third one, the third line, if row is greater than or equal to 0 and row is less than or equal to max row. If call is greater than or equal to, so if row is greater than or equal to 0 and row is greater than or equal to max row, then on the next nest, and we'll have if call is greater than or equal to 0 and call is less than or equal to max call. Then we'll set price label dot text and we'll point it to prices of array index row comma call, and then we're chaining it to .toString, passing in C as a string formatter. Then else message box must something here message box dot show call must be 0 through plus max call. And else we have message box dot show is there something missing? I think there might be. Did I mess something up here? Sorry. Call must be 0 through then plus max call. Then message box dot show row must be 0 through plus max row. Then for the third one we have message box dot show enter an integer for the column. Then we have message box.show enter an integer for the row. Exit button. Did we name exit button? Let me just check that. Yeah, it should be fine. It seems like the code is correct. I think there's just something wrong with the IDE. That should be all. So yeah, so we don't think we really need to step through this. Actually, maybe we could. Actually, you guys get the idea. Like we've already done these examples already. So we'll probably just end it there. Oh, actually, we could just do maybe a quick step through because there's no really loops here. So we'll just set a let's just set a breakpoint here. Then we'll set a breakpoint here. We'll just save it and then click the debug icon. We'll just see how the variables look in memory quickly and just see how it works. Okay, this is just gonna set up the click event. Probably just, I think if I step in, I might get into these Microsoft methods like .click and pretty much just .click, and might just get into the built-in method from the Microsoft dev, the devs who set that up. So we'll just step over that if we can. Actually, the thing is waiting for me to